ladies and gentlemen, I made a 3-bet that is, you guessed it, not a thing. Oh, I hate it when I do things that aren't things. The shame, the embarrassment. I regret it. Only I don't regret it at all, because sometimes when you do things that aren't things and you do it against people that are bad at cards, it's very important to determine who is very bad at cards. I'll explain why in just a second, but basically stuff like this can happen. B75 on a small bet board. Again, the shame. Call myself an elite theoretician. This cannot be the work of an esteemed poker theoretician, for this is not a big board. The villain calls, and then the turn is 4 straight, and we, ladies and gentlemen, bet non-geometric sizing. What are we doing? We're defying all the tenets of GTO. Surely we'll be punished and we'll lose this pot to a boat on the river. That's what's going to happen. We deserve it after all. After all we've just done, all of the blasphemous lines we've just taken. But no. We put the rest in anyway, unfazed by the second snowman appearing, and are duly called down by ace, queen, offsuit. Is this lucky? Is this being rewarded for bad play? Or is this just the occasional or even semi-frequent result of being involved with someone that is a fish? They have a wide range. They have too many bad hands. They're going to play very badly after the flop. They're bad at cards. Some of these people are losing at 70 BB per 100, 50 BB per 100. Do you know of many regs that are losing at that clip? No, regs might be losing at like 3 BB per 100 post-rake. So if you played against regs that you're far better than, you would just lose to the rake anyway. So it's not that we shouldn't get good against regs and we should neglect that part of the game. We should become esteemed poker theoreticians. We should try to become those. But equally, we need to not leave street poker behind entirely. If someone is 20 times worse in loss rate than a bad reg, it is 20 times more important to be in the pot with them. So you could ask, well, what's the theoretical EV loss of just folding King Jack, or 3-betting King Jack, I should say, in this spot? And it's probably like a little bit of a big blind. You probably lose like a 10th of a big blind if you 3-bet this hand, or a 5th of a big, not even that much probably. You let me know. You nerds can look up and tell me, but I don't think you lose that much. And then in real life, it's just about opening doors. Good poker against recreational players is about opening the door and sometimes just being there in the right place at the right time. The reason we big bet the flop here is that recreational players, known recreationals, are going to be very inelastic on a board like this to sizing. Once you get up to like B40, they're probably folding 8, 7, 6s, etc. anyway for the most part. And they're never folding ace jack, jack 10. They're never folding a set, 2-pair, ace queen, king queen. They're never folding anything like this. So this is the most inelastic texture imaginable to your recreational aquatic opponents. And it behooves you to size up for that reason. If you find yourself watching this thinking, God, this guy's an arrogant clown. This is a small bet board and balance and blah, blah. You have no poker future. Glad I got that out of my system. Now all those people are gone. They've quit the game. They've taken up, I don't know, fencing or something, or whatever people do these days. I can talk to you, the audience that's left here, that are going to start thinking more independently. I just want you guys to start thinking more independently. I want you to take the Carrot Poker School. I want you to become really good at poker theory. I want you to understand the nuts and bolts of the game. But I also want you to say middle finger to geo sizing. Yeah? Screw geometric sizing. Screw 2E. Easty says 2E all the time and he's miserable. Don't care about that. You want to put probably more money in than this. Because my idea here is, villain has a lot of 2-pair and sets that have redraw. And they also have Queen X of clubs or some other draw. And I want to flat out maximize against that region of the opponent's range here. Targeting, if you will. We can use targeting responsibly, not irresponsibly. We can use targeting when we're talking about the entire range and how we want to target that range and what the bulk of it is. We cannot use targeting to be like, let's target ace-queen. If I was going to target ace-queen, I'd bet really, really small. I'm not targeting ace-queen. It's just one part of the range, right? I'm targeting the range, the whole thing. So the idea is that, like, if villains a whale station, they might just not fold ace-queen anyway, as we just saw there. And if they have any two-pair set thing with redraw, you know, Jack-X, we just want to put loads of money in right now. So it's much better not to go Geo here. Geo is something like, I don't know, a bit smaller than this. We don't want to do that. You could even shove the turn, but I suspect that sizing I picked is better because it allows these two-pair to, like, come along, get attached, call the rest off on the river. They have redraw on the turn, that's the point, right? On the river, yeah, okay, we lose sometimes, but the thing is that, like, we have overwhelmingly enough equity to jam here. We're going to be a decent favourite still when called. And if a recreational has just somehow made a boat, like they didn't raise, let's say, 10s on the flop, which is kind of unlikely, honestly, or they had the queen 8 of clubs or something, like, they're probably going to shove the river a decent amount of the time. So you definitely have to go all in here. So, like, I love the way I played this hand. I think it's played flawlessly, or close to flawlessly. And I don't say that about a lot of hands I play. Some hands I play okay. I'm just like, I'm accepting of them. I could have done better. This one, I really do think it's like close to like a game hand. And you need to be awake to do that. Okay, I don't need to be that awake to do that because my brain is just conditioned that when I see like a big VPIP hemorrhaging player that might be losing it like double digits PP per 100, I'm just going to stretch the boundaries, right? Especially in position. I'm going to get involved more. But if you're multi-tabling and you're kind of new player and you're trying to battle your way out of 10 NL, 25 NL, 50 NL, you probably just fold this hand pre-admit it, right? You probably do. And it's not that you lose out on 100 big blinds, like this isn't happening every single time, but you really do have to leave the door ajar to these things happening. That's the best way I can put it. You're letting the fish come into your house, and when he's there, sometimes he'll do stuff that gives you loads of money, sometimes he won't. Sometimes you'll even get stacked and you'll pay a bit of a toll on that, you'll pay a tax on it, but you've got to mine the fish, and to mine them, you're mining their incompetence, you're mining their mistakes. You're letting them into the pot with you heads up, so you're the sole beneficiary of their mistakes. They're the benefactor. I think I got that the right way around. You can let me know in the comments. Let's look at another spot now that's about maximizing against recreationals. So we have the 63 of diamonds, and another known recreational player opens. I call, because this is probably a call. This is a call anyway, I think. And to not be involved with this hand in this spot against the recreational would just be so awful. And I've seen my students like autopilot fold here, and it's so bad to not leave the door ajar because the flop might just be 7-5-4. And if the flop is 7-5-4 and you check, they're meant to range check, probably, or close to that. But they're going to just bet their overpair and bet call and call down and stuff like that. So you make infinitely more money with this hand on like 3-3x, 6-6x, 6-3x, 7-5-4, etc. Diamond, diamond, diamond. You make so much more with this hand against the recreational player than you make against the reg. You make like multiple times more. The EV just shoots through the roof, and this is the thing that people are failing to grasp about poker. They're focusing in the wrong places. When you're grinding, you need to be like a hawk. You need to be laser-eyed, looking for the spots where the player with the 60 BB loss rate might just walk into your abode and you can just take their money. That's what you're looking out for. So this is a rub your hands with glee preflop call, yeah? Like, it's really, really important. This is so important that I think we should actually do something special. I think we should make a discount code called Crush the Fish, one word. Crush the Fish is a discount code that I'm going to leave live for just 3 days. And it's going to be a 25% code. Usually we do 20 or 15. We're going to do 25 3 days on all courses. Crush the Fish. There's really no better time to invest in your poker education. Check out Carrot Corner. We even got a new banner. Like, it looks pretty cool. But anyway, let us know what you think about the banner in the comments. If you think the site's looking slick, let me know. I think it is. Kudos to my designer. So this is a small bet from a fish on this board, and you can call, you can raise here. The thing with raise is, again, we're thinking about leaving the door open, right? Raise leaves the door open to like some node where I hit a flush, and then I just get a bunch of money in. If I call and hit a flush against the recreational, they will react by checking quite a lot there. Recreational players are very bad at folding. They're very bad at like thinking clearly when they feel pot committed, attached, like their stack is under threat. They're very likely to spew in those situations. But when you leave the pot small and you give them an out and you allow them to sort of go, I don't have any diamonds, I check back on the 7 of diamonds turn, it's not going to be so great. So calling and checking the diamond turn here isn't a great line. Calling and leading the diamond turn, you're going to get raised almost never. The pot's going to be small, so raising the flop is the one way that you kind of leave the door ajar to villain just getting really mad on a diamond turn and just giving you a stack with, like, queens. Because the more you increase the pot size against the recreational when you might have a good hand by the river, it's like a pressure cooker. The temperature goes up and they become more chaotic, less able to control their emotions. The gambler's instinct, the gambler's mindset kicks in big time. You think you suffer from that. You know, you've seen our previous videos on it. Fish suffer from it far more. They might even be playing poker as an outlet of, like, just more like gambling rather than playing for skill. We do not condone that approach to poker in Carrot Corner, an educational poker channel algorithm. Let it be known. So villain min 3 bets. Or small power min 3 bets, whatever you want to call this. And I think this is very, very likely Margie and Strong. I don't expect this to be a draw that dominates me very often. We're getting 3-1. We have huge implied odds because of the pressure cooker situation. Because our opponent has reduced the SPR and began to be combative and just basically started shoveling more money in, it's very likely that they are on a shorter fuse now if we do hit the diamond. So this is actually quite a nice implied odds spot. But we do not want to give them an out on the 7 of diamonds and allow them to be like, okay, the pot's not so big yet that I feel like I need to spew. This is just the psychology of a fish, by the way. If it's alien to you, that's good. It means you're not a fish, but take it from me, I've battled fish for many, many years. Like, my whole life has basically just been, like, in a box match with some fish. Like, they're trying to, like, hit me with their fins. I'm trying to punch back. This is street poker. It's how I've been immersed in the game for long enough now that I've just, like, the psychology of a fish has seeped into my subconscious. I really feel like I understand it on a very deep level. And if you lead here, what's happening with the recreational player is that they're now really pissed off because they 3-bet the flop. You led the turn. You didn't lead so big that you, like, completely sent them into, like, a flight mode or anything, but you just, like, they're not folding here. Especially if they have 1 diamond with their overpair or whatever it is. They might have even been bluffing you on the flop and they have 1 diamond. They're going to jam now. They might just have a jack with a diamond. They're going to be like 2 + 2 = 20. I'm going to jam now. There's so many ways that, like, they just end up shoving here or calling river. Villain called this bet within 1 second. He saw this bet and his animal brain just went, screw you, man. And he called. And I just knew on this river that it was gonna be egregiously over defended. I knew I was gonna get paid off on this river by hands that have absolutely no business ever calling. So I stuck the rest in gleefully. And villain had queens, no diamond. And this is just not unusual. I'm not cherry picking really bizarre hands where we get, like, massive donations. This happens all the time on GG 100 Russian Cash, this game that I'm, like, trying to build this sample in to show how it can be done, to see how much we can win. And if you stay out of trouble against fish, meaning, like, you avoid bluffs in lines like this where they're snapping and, like, it's a high pressure cooker situation, the temperature's up. If you avoid bluffing in these filtered spots and you just value own them, you're going to do really, really well. You can bluff recreationals when the pot's small, they're not invested, they're not in fight or flight, they've not gone through that decision gate. They've not started fighting, and they have a wide landing range. You could bluff them, it's fine. Just don't bluff them in spots like this. Value on them in spots like this. It's really important. But tracing this back to pre, we leave the door open ajar by just being in this hand. Like, it's very, very important to be in this hand. And it's extremely important, I think, here to raise the flop as well, because it is the line that leads to you getting that he's pissed at me, he's doing dumb stuff now, and I get a stack for it kind of node. If you call the flop, you don't end up in that part of the game tree as often. And the fish game tree is the Wild West. It's very, very different to the red game tree. And you need to think like a fish a little bit in order to play well against them and maximize the ceiling. And the ceiling is very high against a recreational player for stuff like this happening. The amount of EV you can glean is huge against a recreational player compared to against a reg. So it's very much worth your time to invest a bit of effort into trying to understand their mindset. One of the most, like, difficult sorts of poker player to coach is the guy that's like a reg and is, like, literally just entered poker in the GTO era, has only ever talked to, like, reg friends, doesn't converse with recreational players because he thinks they're, like, smelly and stays away from them in card room, that kind of thing. And you talk to the guy, and he's bright, and he understands the game, and like he's got a good logical theory poker brain, but then he's just like projecting some GTO thought process onto a whale and has no concept of like what their mental state is like. And that's a huge problem. It's really just missing out. You're there in the candy store with the big bag just in case they start giving away all the candy. That's what you're doing here. You're just waiting pre-flop with the bag. You're like, I'm ready in case this is the time you want to donate to me. I'm here. I raised the flop. I've got enough equity to do this. It's fine. I'm guiding you down the branch of the game tree that allows my bag to fill with candy in the event that it all starts spilling out. You're there like a vulture. You're scavenging. You're waiting for the guy's thought process to die, and then you're going to swoop down and just like munch up the carcass of money. This is a gross, grim analogy. Let's move on to another hand. Okay, Queen Jack of clubs. I can't really 3-bet here because the jam is just happening too often. Also note that Big Blind is also a recreational player. So going 3-way here with 2 recreational players with Queen Jack of clubs is nothing to be scoffed at. That's a very fine thing as well. I do really like the 3-bet pot node. If this player was deep, I would still isolate because I love being in the 3-bet pot. That's the pressure cooker. That's how you press the on button. That's how you get them into this haywire mindset where they're going to do silly stuff. They don't do that in small pots as much. They do it when threatened, when their resources are at risk. That's what you're trying to create. That's the situation you're trying to create. So here, I could just call, but again, if I just call, I've not created a pressure cooker. I've not made that much tension or stress, and it's possible that villain loses their mind and just keeps going ballistic here. And I do think call's reasonable. I don't think it's that bad here, actually. But I decide to small raise. One, because very often, like a recreational player will just shove ace-jack here because they have top pair. They've been waiting around for that. They've got that now. There's a concept that fish adhere to called the spew threshold. They are perfectly ready and willing to spew. In fact, part of them quite likes doing it. They enjoy it in some weird cathartic way where they get to blow off steam or lash out. But they want to feel like they're not an idiot. They don't want to feel like they're a complete buffoon. So they wait for some threshold, mergy, linearish type of hand, like ace-10 or any ace really, and then they just lose their mind. So if you click it here, they will sometimes shove ace-10. If you call, they might go into check mode, and if the turn is bad, like, okay, you're probably still doing okay because you can just go value bet. The club turn's the problem, right? Like with a monotone board against the fish that's probably linear and stacking off too much, the club turn is the real action killer because it's so revolting to them that they're almost like overloaded with disgust now. And the disgust for the texture means that they can go, oh, god damn it, 4 to a flush came, I can fold. It's like a get out of jail free card to them, and they're less likely to spew. Villain 3-bets the flop. This is a very clear call. It's true that if I shove, villain almost never folds, but there is absolutely no way I don't make the rest of this on the turn against those same hands. Any hand that is calling off here against a jam, I'm going to stack on the turn. Even if it's ace king of diamonds, and even if the turn is the 3 of clubs, there's just not enough money left here for any fish to get away from this ever, basically. I know it's a strong read, but I think it's like, it's a little bit of hyperbole maybe, but not massively. I'm not exaggerating much when I say that. However, there is a world where villain has 10-9 of diamonds, and it's like, this guy has the word bluff in his screen name. This guy is annoying. I don't like this guy. I put him on a bluff. I'm gonna fight back. And they jam the turn with 10-9 of spades or something. Or maybe they have like deuces and they would shove. They have like red deuces and they'll shove through all in. And then they hit a deuce on the turn or something. It's just, there's just ways. There are small parts of the game tree here where you get their money by calling that you don't by jamming, but the inverse isn't really true ever. That's my take on it, at least. Like ace, right? The 8 of diamonds, 8 of spades is just like complete nonsense hand, like utter spew, no rhyme or reason. Now there's a straight draw. Maybe that's enough to put the rest in. Does villain call it off if I shove the flop? I don't know, honestly. Maybe not. Maybe it's just a pure bluff in their mind, right? So I do think, I'm being a bit results-oriented here, but I really do think this is a spot we want to slow play. So far, we've been talking about fast playing to create the pressure cooker. Here, the pressure cooker is already created. There is no need to turn up the temperature any higher. You can just wait. You're in cash-in mode now. You're like, okay, whatever you have, I now accept that I've got you when you have a high equity hand, when you have an ace, when you have 2-pair, when you have a set, when you have a club. I've just got you, right? Like the money's going in on the turn. It's fine. It's mine. The problem is when you have 10-8 of hearts. I don't have you yet. How do I get you when you have 10-8 of hearts as well? And this kind of eliminative, deductive thinking is what makes a really strong poker player, and it's a very important thing to build into your game. You can always come up with singular, insufficient reasons for doing stuff. Like you can say, just shove, because he's probably not folding anyway. But that's insufficient because you haven't been thorough and you have not definitively compared calling with shoving here. So you create the pressure cooker and then you just cash it out when it's ready. You wait for the ding, you eat the meal, you nom up the fish, the salmon, the tuna, as you Americans say, the tuna. Everyone in the UK right now is like shuddering. We say tuna, quite rightly. I know what you think about that in the comment section. We have one more hand, which is Queen 9 of Spades. Again, you guessed it, it's against a recreational player. It's not a thing to call the small blind in a plate 3-bet or fold. Shut up. Shut up. It is a thing to cold call the small blind because villain's a fish, and if I 3-bet, he might shove. And my hand isn't that great in a 3-bet pot at this SPR, and I just want to see what the flop is against the fish. I just want to be in the same building as a guy that's bad at cards. That's it. This guy's bad at cards. Okay, I want to walk into his building. I want to co-inhabit his space for a bit and just see if I get money from the fact that he's a 65 BB per 100 loser. That's what I'm doing. Okay, they bet half pot. We could raise. We could call. If we raise here, we get jammed on sometimes. I guess we have to go with it. It's like one of those things. At this SPR, I think there's enough money in there already that call is okay. And the reason for that is that I'm not aiming at bringing in 100 big blinds. I'm not trying to create a world where like the pot's big enough and he's mad enough that I win 100 big blinds with a flush, because I can't win 100 big blinds with a flush because the effective stack's 50. I don't really like the line where I, raise here and get shoved on by queens at this SPR, because that's going to happen now. Like queens is just going to jam and now I have to run it against queens. So I think call is maybe a bit better here, but I don't mind small raise either. I think it's close for what it's worth. Much closer than the other hand, where I really prefer a raise to bring in the rest of the money and create the pressure cooker. So then on the turn, villain goes for this. And it's like, okay, we require about 30%, about 29% to call here. If villain's most likely hand is, let's say, a jack, right? Just use this as a reference point. I know their range can have all sorts of other stuff. Let's say they just have a jack. And our queen is live, right? Let's say. And our spades are live and our 9 is not. So let's just work off of that assumption that we have 9 plus 3, 12 times 2, 24%. Like, we're almost there, equity-wise. Is there any implied odds to take us over the finish line? Yes. What's the best way to capture those implied odds? It's to lead the river. Particularly when a front door flush completes. You're going to be in a situation where the recreational checks back the river. With all kinds of hands. So the plan is call. I don't believe raise is great here. I think they're under bluffing for the sizing here, probably. On this texture, they're probably just going to be quite mergy, bet a lot of top pair on double flush draw, that kind of thing, be bet calling. We hit the river, it's 4 straight. It's very important that we lead now. I lead pretty big. I don't go for overbet jam here. I think it's a little bit. Maybe going over a threshold where we wake them up and they're too disgusted. The only thing that can really counter the anger and the defiance and indignation in the fish's mind is disgust. Disgust can be stronger, right? Imagine you're really, really mad at someone, but then like you walk into the room they're in and it's so foul and revolting that you just have to leave. The thing that trumps that chaotic spew is them being utterly revolted with the visual appearance of the board. If you go all in after this happens, I do think you go over a threshold, and I do think you start getting quite a lot of folds. I could maybe be convinced that all in is still better than this, maybe, but I think this is about right. I don't know, let me know what you think in the comments. I'm not married to this idea, but I think this is the right sizing. I definitely don't think we should lead like B33. I think checking is a huge, huge mistake here, but it's run of the mill and you guys do it all the time, right? Maybe not you. Maybe not you specifically. I feel like Joe Goldberg here from the Netflix show. You. A lot of you watching this wouldn't have 3-bet the King Jack, would not have let that huge losing spewy player with the Ace Queen into your abode, would not have won a stack with that hand. A lot of you would have folded without thinking with the 6-3 suited in the big blind because you don't know your ranges well enough and you're not, again, thinking about in it to win it enough. A lot of you might have taken a different line with the Queen Jack of clubs. You might have shoved the flop and villain folds the 8s, right? And you don't think anything of it. But that is a part of their range that's relevant, that you really want to be thinking about, is the utter spew region. And then finally, in that last hand, you may have folded the turn, not really calculating the implied odds well enough, or you may have called the turn and checked the river, thus decimating those implied odds. I hope this has been helpful. At Carrot Corner, we are going to make that code live. One word, crush the fish, 25% off, 3 days only. Take advantage, top link in the description. Check out the new look of our website. Let us know what you think. More content coming your way soon. I've started doing more live streams again. Discord community's pretty busy. Get in there, get involved. Love to hear from you guys. See you next time.